Domestic violence is classified as any two people that have ever lived together, okay, regardless if they're married or not. Any two people who are married, regardless if they've lived together. Any two people that share a child in common, regardless if they've lived together or if not they've been married. All right, and pretty much between family members. If there's any blood ties in it, it can be considered domestic violence.
This is a freshman orientation class at Florida International University. These students are learning how to spot the signs of an abusive relationship. Why is that an important thing for them to learn? Because many victims of abuse get into those relationships at a young age.
I got married 2 weeks out of high school.
I got married at 19.
Unfortunately, these women didn't have a class to teach them the warning signs of abuse.
Abuse. Address the dark side. May I be your guide? Let us go on this quest. Come along, be my guest.
Abuse victim Norvell Holyfield is recording a poem she wrote. Her compelling recital chronicles a cycle of emotional and physical abuse that in the early stages victims often fail to see.
And my mother didn't allow him in her house because she'd heard us arguing a few times previously, and she said she didn't like him.
Norvell didn't realize what she'd gotten herself into until the day she got married.
Well, when I went back downstairs, he smacked me right then. And he said, "I'm your husband, and don't you ever keep me waiting."
Suzanne Kahn didn't realize she was in an abusive relationship until a child brought it to her attention.
A little 6 or 7-year-old little boy, he says to me, he says, "Why do you let him talk to you like that?" I mean, because I didn't see it. I thought it was normal. And so that kind of stuck with me for a while.
Still, Suzanne and Norvell stayed in their marriages, feeling trapped, ashamed, and alone in an endless cycle of abuse.
He had locked me out of the house before, kicked me, totally humiliate me in front of people, tell me I could never do anything right.
He would close me in the bedroom, he would shut the door, and he would have friends come over, and I wouldn't be allowed out of the bedroom.
I would start shaking when I was going home from work or from the store, wherever it was. I was scared to go home because I don't know what's going to happen.
And he said, "I'm going to call my job and call off because I'm going to whip your ass all night long." And that man beat me. And as he sat on the phone and he called his job, he looked down and he spit in my face. He said, "Bitch, I hate the ground you walk on." And God, give me strength. And I ran out the door. My baby was asleep, but I had to get out.
And because I would not sleep with him and have sex with him, he kicked me out of the bed and told me to go sleep with the dogs.
When you can't smile because you've been belittled and beguiled. When there is nothing left but your shame and your pain, and you feel there is nothing for you to gain. Yes, it's best to call on his name.
People often tell victims of abuse that when they've had enough, they'll leave. But Norvell says every time she would leave an abusive relationship, she'd just end up in another one.
This is your comfort zone. This is what you're familiar with. And these men, a lot of them that can be so violent, can put on the charm and be just that much more charming to you.
It's like a split personality. It's called the Jekyll and Hyde personality. You don't know whether, because you get mad about one thing and you'll leave and then you'll come back and you think he's still upset or you're going to have another confrontation, and it's like it never happened. So it makes you think like you're crazy.
Counselor Robin Simmer says getting out of this cycle of abuse is far from easy, but when victims are ready, she says the first step is to find someone who can help them.
You need to tell someone you can't do this alone. And there's hotlines. There's a national hotline for domestic violence. You can call your operator. You can call information.
One place women in South Florida go for help is Women in Distress of Broward County. In addition to a 24-hour hotline, this center can help women find a safe shelter, also provide the support they need to make their new transition.
And she hears the same women telling the same stories, and she says, I'm not alone, it's not me, and she begins to feel that she has some sense of self-worth. And by talking about it, she empowers herself, and that helps them get out of the situation.
I have this fear that I can't survive without without him, but you get so low. It's like, you just believe in God and have faith that anything can be better than this.
You've got it all to gain. Yes, you are blessed. You passed the test. You are not inane. You are quite sane. Have a positive attitude so that on this day you may move not just adjacent but to a higher latitude.
Norvell and Suzanne finally found the strength to leave their abusive relationships. But both women discovered a new problem. The years of abuse had rubbed off on their children.
And they've seen it for so long that they think it's okay. Both my kids have been, I mean, it's very hard, but both my kids I had to have arrested for domestic violence on me, for hitting me and punching me.
My past relationships have affected her to the point that it's hard for her to be in one.
It's a common problem, but one programs like Women in Distress can help women and their children overcome.
It's just going to takes a lot of time, and I was told it took this long, so many years to get to this point. It's going to take years to get healthy again.
For Norvell, part of getting healthy is talking to as many women as she can about domestic violence. She's also taking an honest look at herself to find out why she's attracted to abusive men.
What happened to me is self-esteem. I had problems in my childhood that I didn't deal with, I didn't recognize, and
I considered that control as a form of love, a form of attention, because I felt that I didn't have love or attention as a child.
so here was a man finally, I didn't have to have a beeper number. When I called, he was there. Whatever I wanted to do, he did. And that's all that I could see. Forget his behavior. Oh, it'll be all right. Oh, maybe it'll get better. Because he was feeding my sickness. He was making me feel like finally someone's here for me, so why should I down him? But now he's in jail, and he says to me, well, there are about 100 men down here in jail, with the same problem me and you have. And their girlfriends and wives are just dropping the charges. So what are you going to do? Not once did he say, I'm sorry. Not once did he say, what are you going through every day? Not once did he say, what do you do on Saturdays now that I'm not there to go to Bayside and ride the People Mover with you? What do you do to fight the pain that I left in your heart because of what I did to you, physically and mentally? Not once did he say, I'm sorry. But he said, will you come down here and help Mama get me out? So from that basis, I started to look at me and realize my survival is what mattered.
Counselor Robin Simmer says controlling men prey on women like Norvell. That's why it's important to learn and recognize these warning signs.
Wanting to monitor your time, where you're going, how long you're there, when you're coming home. If you work, does your partner call you all the time? Starting to look at if he's isolating you from your friends and your family, saying things like, I want to spend all my time with you, I love you, don't go with your friends. The warning signs are the isolation and the control issues.
Teaching these students about abusive relationships can be a powerful tool for the future, but you don't have to have a class to get help. Just pick up the phone and call a domestic abuse hotline in your area.
And I know that I've gotten this far. I don't have to be scared to come home anymore. That, it's just going to take time, and just to have faith and just to keep going.
With love and peace, walk in his way, because now it is you they cannot deceive when it is in him, my God, that you believe. Go now and magnify in his glory every time you share my story.
In every state, you can find agencies that provide shelter and support for victims of physical abuse and domestic violence. These organizations may also conduct educational programs in your community. Check your local telephone directory for the Domestic Violence Hotline.